Yes crew, this is your boy Stanton and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Just like to say Happy New Year to everyone and I hope you had a good Christmas. In this video we're going to look at making a nice upriser for those house, garage and tech house tunes. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay guys, so we're just going to go over to Serum, open it up, and then we're going to choose our basic shapes and the saw width. Just going to pull the fine tuning down by about 24 cents. Don't have to do that, but I like to do that myself just because it creates a little bit of an odd vibe. And then push up the unison amount to 4 on the voices. It's going to turn down a little bit. And then from here, we're just going to turn the tuning to around 10. And then we're going to apply LFO1 to the coarse pitch, which is this section here. And then we're going to go out to our matrix and press on the type here so that the arrow goes to the right, so it's pointing in the positive direction. And then we're going to click trigger, and as you'll hear now, we'll start to get a little bit more of an alarm vibe going on. I'm just going to pull it to the right, just so we get that upriser shape. Still get an alarm, but we want to make it so the upriser is a bit longer on the LFO rate, so let's just put it down to 8 bars. And as you'll hear now, we've got a nice upriser, the backbone of it. There you go, that's the sound of the upriser. So we've got the backbone of it there. And then we're just going to do the same on oscillator B. Got our basic shapes. And this time, we're going to choose a saw again. Then we're going to go our fine tuning, pull this down by about 26. You don't have to do this, but like I said before, I like to do it. And then we're just going to push up the voices on the unison to around 4 again. And then on the detuning, I'm going to put it down to 10. And then from here, let's just pull LFO1 onto the coarse pitch again and go to our matrix, make sure it's pointing to the right, so it's in the positive direction. And as you'll hear now, it's singing the same song. Now what we can do, we can get a little bit more creative with these LFO shapes here. And what I like to do is I just like to pull it back a little bit so it catches the listener out. So I've been doing this in some of my tracks lately where the upriser will go up and then just before it drops, it'll drop back down and kind of trick the listener a little bit. But then normally after that, you'd maybe have like a little fill after when the upriser drops down, just to complement it, or another pad sound or some drama or a vocal or something, you know. So I'll just listen to that now. And then boom, the tracker drop. So let's just get a little bit more movement now. So let's go to LFO2 and apply some modulation, put that on around 10. Just so we get a little bit of movement on the detuning there. Then same again, we'll apply on oscillator B's detuning amount. Put that one on 20 so we get a little bit of variation between both oscillators A and B. Let's put it on trigger, and then same again, we want to put this on about 2. just so this LFO's running over 2 bars. Now, just going back to our LFO1, if we listen to it going up and then we've heard it dropping down, what we could do is we could add in another plot point there and just have the upriser playing at its peak at this region here. And one of the reasons you could do this is, you know, let's say just to trick the listener again and have the track, you know, going a little bit crazy, like the tension coming to a standpoint where it's just pushing and pushing, which you'll hear now. Now, if you listen to a tune called Sweet by Enzo Saragusa and Seb Zito, you'll hear in their track that they have this type of vibe going on. Now, one of the reasons I'm talking about this is because when I lived in Ibiza, I heard them play Sweet at Sankey's, and the upriser just stayed at its peak and the dance floor was just left. Everyone was waiting for something else to come in, and then after it there was a nice little percussion loop, and then the kick would drop, and it just sounded like really banging. So you could try that little trick. So back to our LFO2. So now let's start adding in a filter. So we've got A and B sent there. It's going to push the filter cut off open there. It's going to pull it back to around 100 Hertz. Maybe choose a low 6. And then I'm just going to apply LFO2 to the cutoff so we get some movement with the upriser now. And as you'll hear when I press play, you can hear the upriser slowly opening over the course of 2 bars. So what's happening is we've got the upriser going up on LFO1, and then we've got LFO2 slowly opening the cutoff. Alright. And we can back that off as well. If you wanted to, we can start adding in some resonance. Just to get that warpiness going on. You could go a little bit further as well. It's entirely up to you. I'll put it down to about 37 again. And I'm just going to push up the drive. Just add in some nice distortion. In fact, let's go a little bit further on that filter cutoff there. Now what we can do now is start adding in some effects. So we can go to our hyper dimension, give it some size. So it's going to push up the mix on the dimension section. Give it some size. And then same again, we can add in LFO2 and start getting a bit more of a super saw effect going on. Just back off that modulation amount. If that's the type of vibe you're going for. Add some distortion in. I always like to choose down sample when I'm doing more effects, just because it adds in a nice little bit of ring and that old school type flavour. Just a little bit there. So from here, what we could do is we could start adding in some flanger or phaser. It's entirely up to you. Personally, I like the flanger. And same again, we can apply LFO2 there. Pull down the modulation amount. sounding pretty cool. We can start adding in some chorus just to thicken it up a little bit. And then from here, let's just put in some compression just to control the peaks a little bit. Now what we could do is we could start adding in some reverb. You can either just have it, just the mix turned up, or we could apply LFO2 to it. Push up the decay a little bit. Entirely up to you. You can just delete that modulation there. And then from here we could maybe add in some delay if you liked. You could have the delay really tight on around 64. And it creates that nice old school jungle type of vibe. Just push that down to 30. Let's just push up the feedback a little bit. Let's see what it sounds like. Sounds pretty cool there. It's only very subtle, but it's nice. But what about if we just wanted to use some different shapes? So we could use some more digital ones. So we could choose maybe the monster. Let's do a monster on both. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go on the wave tool position and pull them down to 0. Well, to 1. And I'm going to do some LFO modulation on the wavetable positions, just so the LFO scans the wavetable and we can hear it evolve a little bit. Just going to put that on trigger. So if you're going for that type of vibe, you can do so. We could even maybe just have oscillator A on monster 1 and have oscillator B on basic shapes, and we could just remove the modulation there, put that back on the saw, and just have monster 1 on the digital. Let's just see what it sounds like. Sounding nice. So that's pretty cool if you want to go for that vibe. But let's just get rid of that modulation and go back to our basic shapes. Got our nice saw going on. But what you could do is for the LFO mount on all these effects and the filter cutoff, we could put it to hertz instead of BPM. Now the benefit of this is you could go into Ableton's MIDI clip and do some automation in there, so you have more control over the modulation amount, which I'll show you now on the LFO. As you can hear, it's at 1. You could do some automation in there where you're riding the rate here. And you can start riding the automation like that on the rate. But let's just apply a macro to the rate there, just so I can demonstrate that to you. So that's it. The LFO isn't affecting the filter whatsoever now. But if we start pushing it up on the macro, there you go. So that's pretty cool there. So if we just go into our MIDI clip, and I'll just play the clip on Ableton here. Like I said, there's no LFO affecting the cutoff there, so you won't hear it. So if you just go into our envelope and then click our rate here, just going to set this to around 50, and we can draw some in here. And the only reason I've got it at 50 is just because it starts to affect the cutoff at the 50 value, which you'll hear now. You know, and you can play around and get creative with the automation amount as well. So there you go, guys. That's a little bit there on some automation. So let's just delete that. But before we go, let's just do one more thing that I want to show you. Just going to delete that macro there, and I'm just going to put this back to BPM, put it on 2. So we've got everything singing the same song again, and how we originally had it. Or you could even have it on 4 if you like. We could even pull it over to the right and have it as the same shape as LFO 1. Or you can even have it on 8, it's entirely up to you. Then boom, drop. Okay guys, so just to recap, we've looked up at setting the oscillators for our upriser sound. We looked at using some LFO to create movement in the upriser and adding various modulation sources. We've looked at also the effects section and taking the sound a little bit further using some distortion, flanger, phaser and some reverb and even some delay. Take what you've learned from this session and start implementing these sounds and these techniques into your own tunes. Let me know in the comments section below which is your favourite tune with the upriser sound in. If you want to get my help personally, you can shoot me an email and we can discuss things further, where I offer one-to-one music production sessions. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.